We're now going to pass across to Dean, who's going to show us a little bit around Office 365, and this is a fascinating session. So over to Dean. Wow.
Thank you very much. Wow, catch of the day. All those little things moving around. Isn't that pretty crazy? So I look at things like that, and you realise that technology is really starting to change how businesses operate. Like, you might have heard of the Internet of Things, IoT, extra acronyms. Okay, so that's a pretty amazing sort of thing to see, because it shows you, if anything, I think the change you've got to look at is not just how cool that technology is if you're a technology person, but the impact on the business being much quicker to get that stock out to customers, but also the impact to where your investments are made around people as well, and the sort of workforce you're employing. Suddenly we're employing robots, okay, which makes me really think, mind me while I get a little bit political, you hear about politicians saying, hey, this is going to create all these jobs. Some of those industries are about to get highly automated. So, and some of you might be in those industries. And so it's really interesting thinking about that. And so maybe you should be looking at your business and looking at it from the perspective of, how do I get technology to fix every problem? Re-examine your business, get someone else in to understand what your business actually does from a different point of view, not from your point of view, because you might be locked in that game of looking at certain charts or whatever it might be, playing the game a certain way, when you don't even realise your competitor might be someone you don't even know yet, who is doing all this robotic stuff. So I must say, in order to do that, in some ways we've been divesting in technology for a long time. Who's been pushing IT technology budgets down? Yes? No? No, I'm getting sort of some funny smiles. So we definitely don't, we want to be putting money. Shouldn't be taking money away so much as saying, let's invest the money in the right way, in the right place. And cloud is one of those things that's come along and really, I suppose, rationalised how we spend money on technology. Because when you go and buy a car, and this is a confession for myself as well, you know, my father was a mechanic, and so it was all about looking at what's under the hood. Okay. The second last car I bought, I realised that a month later I still hadn't looked under the hood, which was quite a bizarre thing to realise based on my past. Okay, and then I thought, okay, so what I've realised, what I'm buying here is really that getting from A to B with a certain experience. Every person here, every person who works for an organisation, we've been doing for a long time the opposite of that, and that is we've been paying to have an in-house mechanic all the time. Does that make sense? When all you're really after is that experience. And so the experience that you want, or the use that you want of that technology, is to make that organisation, your organisation, more productive, make it be much more competitive. Okay, I must say, if you look under the bonnet of my most recent car, you won't see an engine at all. It's a very different sort of car. So, but Office 365, who's heard of Office 365? Yep, who's using Office 365? Who's using Office? Okay, what is Office? Who knows what Office is? What is Office? Let's reframe it a little bit. What's Office? Word? Excel? PowerPoint? Outlook? That thing you have to arrive at first thing every day. Okay. Is Outlook your first mail experience every day? Yeah. Sure? Exactly. So Outlook isn't necessarily your first mail experience every day. Chances are, though, the thing that's been making Outlook work is at the back end of that experience that you get first thing every day, unless it's not work, I suppose. So yes, I confess, I'll look at my phone and I'll see my mail, and yes, I'm using Outlook on my phone. However, I do know that in order for Outlook to work, there's this other whole piece of infrastructure we've got to keep going. But I suppose just looking at that situation and sort of realising that, you know, this is a bit of a different world today than what it was many years ago. How many devices do we have out there? You know, smartphones, it's over 1 billion, well and truly over 1 billion I actually revised that because I saw some metrics the other day and I realised, hang on a second, it's definitely over 1 billion smartphones are going to be sold, and we've got other types of devices as well. 82% of the online population engages in social networking. So who's doing social networking within your organisation? Because people are pretty used to doing it outside your organisation. Okay, somehow that's making people connect. Are people not connected in your organisation if you're not doing internal social networking? That sounds like a bad thing if you're not. Okay, 50% of enterprise customers are on the road to the cloud. So really the cloud in many respects, don't think of it as being this little fluffy thing that's representative of the internet, which is where that image originally came from. It's really about saying, I don't care what's behind that cloud, I just want that thing to do what I want it to do. Okay, I don't want to have to look under the bonnet. I just want to know that when I pay someone to host my infrastructure, I'm going to get the best bang for buck. Okay, and Microsoft being a hyperscale provider, we not only make sure that we've got sort of the best mechanics. What hyperscale means is we put so much money in there into investing into our cloud that we drive the cost of access for you so low that you could never have got it that low if you did it yourself. Okay, so this stuff is happening. Okay, what keeps them productive? Okay, so what this really means is we've got these devices, how do we utilise them? So it really comes down to the right device for the right task at the right time for the right person. Okay, so it might mean, it may even, yes, I'm inside the Microsoft building, but sometimes it doesn't mean a Windows phone. It might mean something totally different. It might mean an iPhone, or it might even mean an Android device, or maybe it may mean something that doesn't even have a screen. Okay, what is it that those people use to become productive? But when they're productive, we don't want them to have to change their context all the time. We don't want to have them moving from one experience to another and then finding that there's inconsistencies. Okay, so you need to keep some sort of synchronization, some sort of control. So, we know mobile's pretty normal. Okay, this is what people actually expect. Okay, 56% of office workers said they expected to be able to get work done no matter where they are. Okay, something that's happened here with the adoption of mobile technologies and cloud and allowing us to have more much more access to the services that we use to get our jobs done is that we've been able to close down a number of floors within this building and sublet them. Okay, so that's directly a saving just associated with that, because what we're allowing people to do is work from home in the morning, maybe wait until the traffic dies down before coming in, or not come into this office at all, but go to where the work's actually done. That's with our customers. Okay, so I've got to say that because I realise that not all organisations are really there yet. Sometimes I make that assumption of thinking people are living the same life I am, and that is that sometimes I do get in the car to come to work at 10 after spending a bit of time on email or in my office at home and doing some other things. Okay, so 3 or more devices. It's an interesting one. We'll come back to that. 62% of companies either already have bring your own device allowances in place or plan to by the end of 2013. Who's got BYOD happening already? Who's scared of BYOD? Is it a good thing? Think you're going to save $1 on BYOD, or is it going to cost you more? What is BYOD? Okay, average cost of data breach. So all of this, and then we're going to land this one. Okay, so if you're going to do this, you've got to do it right. You need to have control. So what Office 365 is not just Word, Excel, PowerPoint and those things. It is that. It's more than that though. It's everything that supports that and makes that work on the go. Because everyone knows who's got a desktop full of Word documents, Excel sheets. Come on, admit it. Okay, there's a few here. I'm guilty as well because I'm old school. So put it on the desktop. We know that's bad, but we also know that Microsoft knows that that's not the best way to get things done, and that there shouldn't even be a need for it to be there in the first place. Okay, that's just a mindset. Okay, who's got home drives? H drives? G drives? Can you access your G drive from your phone? Can you access it from your tablet? Maybe. Okay, if you can access it from your tablet, can you access it from the beach? What are you doing accessing it from there? I don't know. But could you if you wanted to? You got the phone call that said, what are you doing? Haven't you done that thing yet? Suddenly you got sand on the laptop. Okay, so, but you've got access. So you don't, that stuff is really a thing of the past. What we want to be able to do is have a high fidelity environment like on a PC with Office when we need it. But when we're on the go, still have access to that same content that we've created, if we've created it, or something someone else has created, when we're on the go from our phones as well. And know that when we move from one experience or one context to another, that everything's going to persist. Okay, so, and that's for everything. The other thing is cloud on your terms. So well, cloud is so cliche, I hate even saying the term. But who is doing cloud stuff at the moment? Who's hosted elsewhere? Who's still got on-prem? Okay, what's stopping you going to the cloud? Okay, probably in your mind a whole host of valid reasons. Okay, and we've realised that, and that's why cloud from Microsoft's perspective is something you should be doing, but you should be doing it in the measure that's appropriate for your organisation. And so it's important that if you do move to the cloud, we've got a little bit, or the pieces that are in the cloud that are right, and the pieces that are on-prem that are right, because you've obviously got some reasons why you want to do that. But when you have that, you don't want to have this situation where this and this look like totally something different, and you're working for different organisations when people are, there's a document here and there's a person over here, how are they supposed to join those two worlds? That should look as though it's one. Okay, so everything's built from the ground up. In fact, Office 365 is really just built on the same stuff that you've already got in your data center, no doubt. Okay, it's just that we've put it into, set it up in a multi-tenant environment that allows it to be mass consumed. Okay, so that's really, really important. So let's have a look. Working across devices, I think I'm really pushing that as much as possible, but stay in sync. This is, I'll show you my H drive, OneDrive at Microsoft. Okay, so that's actually my G drive, if you want to call it the G drive. G drives don't really exist anymore in Office 365, but we know, if you've got file servers and things like that, that's really a thing of the past. The thing about a file server is that's all it does is it serves files. But do those files mean more to you than just the name? They probably do. So if you have a look at, there's OneDrive, we can see here's my folders, here's some files. Look, I don't think there's anything there you shouldn't see. It's too late now anyway. Okay, but if I go in here, here's PTS role, and then we can see here Office 365 Prezos, and you can see there's these little tick boxes next to a lot of these. What that's saying is that it's a bit hard to work with just the trackpad. What that's saying is that that's synchronized. That's actually not just stored on my device, it's actually stored in the cloud. It's also accessible from my phone and anything else that's allowed to get access to my corporate information. Okay, and so in fact, this very presentation is sitting here, and if I right click and go OneDrive for Business, I can just click on Go to Browser, and what that's going to do is show me within my browser, that's the right browser, isn't it? Yep. Within my browser, that exact same folder. So if I was using an iPad right now, an Android tablet, a Windows tablet, or something else that has a browser that just works, I have access to my files. And so my point is, even if, there's always this little technical difficulty it seems when we're plugging these things in and moving between presenters. If for some reason, in fact I've had friends that have, or colleagues or associates who've lost laptops and then got to their destination and realised, ooh, I left that at the airport. And it's all right, I got a USB. Even that's redundant these days, because if you've got a web browser, I've got access. And the presentation I've been showing to you is, in fact, running from the browser. So this is PowerPoint running from within the browser. Okay, so Office is with me everywhere. Okay. And of course, if I had nothing at all, I could probably even project from this thing. Okay, if that's what it really came down to. So all of this is in sync, okay? Keeping in control. So it's in the cloud. Is that a bit of a scary thing? I'm just going to confront this straight away. Some people are worried about that scared stuff. So come on, we're Microsoft. You've got to trust us. Okay? So look, Microsoft's been building enterprise grade technology for a long time. Okay, and we're going to be here for a while yet, and that's where we're putting all our money into at the moment, into making sure that any concerns you have today aren't really a concern. Okay, and so even just operating from the cloud, so I'll bring up Firefox here, and what I have is Katie. I've just changed into this new persona called Katie. Okay, that's what I look like now. Okay. And this is Outlook running from the browser. Okay, so logged in, running from Firefox. It's not Internet Explorer. And what we can see here is, of course, just like you would expect from Outlook or any sort of email application in a browser, is of course all the mails. As I sit on these things, as I click on these, I get some information. In fact, that's probably not really that important. I might delete that one. And what we can see here is we say, okay, project update, what's important here? Northwind Traders, please forward Contoso patent documents. So what's this about? Okay, I don't have Alex Darrow's email address. Please forward Contoso patent document to him, please. Okay, of course I will. There's the patent document. Let's forward that. I think that's his email address. That'll do. Okay, so I'm just sending that to a Yahoo account right now. Can anyone see what's happened? Let's have a look. Policy tip, this message can't be sent because it appears to contain sensitive information. Okay, so within Office 365 we have the ability to interrogate the content of emails and the attachments that you may attach to those emails and determine whether or not something bad could happen if we try and send this somewhere. Okay, in this case we're sending it outside the organisation. Okay, and so it's gone, hang on, alarm bells here, it's going to Yahoo account, this doesn't look good at all. Okay, and so it's giving me a little tip to say, hey, don't do that. Okay, and also just saying, hey, this person's outside your organisation. Okay, so if I click on show details here, we can even override this if we wish to. Okay, and if I click on override, it'll then say, hey, you better have a business justification for this. So it just keeps coming, doesn't it? At this stage, if you haven't got alarm bells going on, okay, then you're either doing something which is right or maybe not the right position. Okay, so maybe we're just going to say it doesn't, but either way we're going to get audited here, and so it's a good idea to go and put in the business justification. Now, as I do this, I don't know if that's actually the right email address, but as I was to go and force that sending, we could either block that as a policy, or in the case of, in this case, what it will actually do is encrypt that information. And when it goes to that person's account, they'll have to sign in and authenticate who they actually are before they get access to that information, because that's going out into a public network. Does that make sense? And so, look, this is just a really small example of this not just being Gmail. Okay, it's enterprise grade stuff. Okay, and there's a lot of control over this. Okay, so also collaboration's important. So within Office 365, we've got SharePoint. Who's heard of SharePoint? Cool, it makes it a lot easier for me. For those who don't know what SharePoint is, think of it as like an intranet website that you can create inside the organisation for collaboration. This is the home landing page for this fictitious organisation. So we can see here, got lots of stuff sort of saying, you know, how cool we are and all that sort of stuff that you want to keep good vibe within an organisation, keep employees happy. Okay, and as we move around through the different departments, of course, we can see. Actually, I might just quickly go across to my other person. Here we go. Let's go and have a look at something fun, research and development. Okay, and see what they've got happening here. And so what we can see here embedded into the page is, in this case, a Visio diagram of a process. Okay. I don't know this organisation that well. I've obviously only just started. And we can see all the associated documentation. We can see announcements that has all been added here. And see, if you look here, we can see these are documents. This isn't just an H drive or a G drive. People have been able to rate these documents. Okay, and we can see who created these in this case, these announcements. If we have a closer look at these documents, what we can see is the people who have been working on those as well. Just give that a moment to pop up. We can see who's been working on those, and if I was looking at one of these documents, we noticed it had been modified and there's been changes. We didn't know what the changes were. We can always go back to previous versions of the documents if we don't like those changes, or we could go and just ask this person, send them an instant message maybe, and say, hey, what were the changes that you made to this document right from within SharePoint? And that will open up Lync, which is soon to be called Skype for Business, for those people who are not too sure what Lync is. And of course, if an instant message is not enough, we can then click the call and have a normal phone call with the person. If that's not enough, we can then share our desktop, collaborate on documents, all that sort of stuff. Okay. Of course, we don't have to download these documents and look at them. If we have a look at this first one, we can just open it straight up within the browser as well. So one thing I'm deliberately not doing here is going back to my desktop at all. I'm doing all of this from the browser as well. Well, in this case, that's a riveting looking document. Here we go. Okay, and there's a bit of fun stuff in there. Okay, and if we want to edit it, we can choose to edit it in Word or just edit it within the website itself. Okay, so Office 365 Cloud Principles. When we brought out, I suppose if you've got something deployed into your data center, you're probably on some sort of an update cycle every 3 years. Okay, and it seems like the IT guys are constantly saying, no, we're not going to deploy that yet. We're going to wait until later on. Okay? Imagine if your mechanic said, no, you can't have the brand new insert your choice of car here. Okay? Just because you haven't learnt about the new button yet or something. Does that make sense? Okay, so the thing about an evergreen service is Office 365 is an evergreen service, which means we're constantly deploying new functionality and features into it all the time. Okay, so it means you've got the benefit of all the feedback that Microsoft's had around the way that the platform works, and we're adding this new functionality so that you can take advantage of it. Okay, so we deliver the features frequently. We always consider security functionalities first, and we also take the feedback from the field as well. So if there's things you don't like, that's definitely changed things as well in the past. Okay, so Office 365. I know I started working with Office 365 before it was called Office 365 and it was called BPOS. And you look at Office 365 today and I'm like, OMG, there's a heck of a lot of difference. It's just amazing the difference between then and now in what functionality you've got. And if I was going out to start up a business today, my very first thing I would do would be deploy Office 365, because in the past it would cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars to do that, for that capital investment to get that capability. Okay, and it's just, yeah, it's quite amazing how quickly it's updated. So, of course, something that IT people are always concerned about is, hey, it's a change. You know, change is always bad, right? Okay, so we don't want there to be any surprise. There's lots of notifications for the IT guys. There's guidance. There's readiness materials. We provide training, and it's all within within Office 365 itself. I'm just quickly going through these. You can see there's even blogs that go through everything as it's pushed out. Okay, as I said before, security and trust is one of the most important things that we value within the product, within the service. And as far as we're concerned, this is the first thing that we worry about. Okay, we go to extraordinary lengths to ensure that the data centers we have this deployed within meet certain certification criteria, that they're able to undergo the rigors of, I suppose we even certify them a lot more frequently than what a lot of the certifications require. So a lot of them say, okay, every 2 years, we'll do it every year, just to make sure we're always ahead. Okay, privacy, we do not own your data. It's your data. We don't mine it or anything like that. We can't see in there. And I suppose, I come from a support background, and it's interesting how when privacy doesn't seem to matter so much when people want to get access to something. It's like, I forgot my password. Surely you can just unlock it and tell me what it is, or tell me what the password is. Whereas, like, sorry, we've actually engineered into the product tools, engineered into the product protections that even prevent our support teams from being able to get through that, even if they wanted to. So just by calling us up and saying, hey, Dean, you work at Microsoft, can you get access to my email? It's just doesn't fly. There's so many loops we've got to go through before even getting to something you might even consider indicative of what might look like your environment. Okay, it is yours. We don't mine it. We don't make money off your information. Okay, and it is highly configurable. This is getting back to, I suppose, the hybrid thing a little bit. We do see there'll be some circumstances where the needs of Office 365 won't fit exactly with your organisation. You've always got your on-prem. Okay, so hybrid is hybrid where you have your on-prem environment. Actually, let's look at this another way. How much think to yourself how much your on-prem environments are costing you today. Work out how much it would cost to put everything into the cloud, and then think about the needs of the organisation that say no to cloud, and put them into another bucket. Okay, work out how much of a proportion of your organisation that is. Okay, the individuals who say, no, I don't want a cloud mailbox, I don't want Office 365, find out who they are and tell them that they're the ones that are going to pay for the on-prem. Okay, because that's I suppose, a pragmatic way of looking at it in many respects when it comes to some concerns, but there are going to be maybe some integration things that you need to do that Office 365 doesn't allow you to customise to that level. Okay, it's very configurable, but when it comes down to the customisation, it might not go as far as you want, and so you can put a bit of Exchange on-prem and use Exchange online as well. So, 90, 10, 80, 20, something like that. Okay, and of course we do also have financially backed SLAs as well to give you some sort of sense of security. We support a wide variety of devices. I'm not here to sell Windows phones. Fantastic phone, by the way. Really love this phone. I love the colour. That's what matters, not what's underneath. No. Back to the car again, hey? So, yeah, so look, there's hopefully you get the idea that this is very accessible, and in many respects, you're going to be saving money. Okay, but I wouldn't say let's put that money straight onto the bottom line. You should be looking at how you can automate other parts of the business, how you can use technology for other parts of the business. I am really passionate about data. Who's got this whole big data thing sorted out? Okay, sounds like that's where you should be investing, because I'll make a bet that within 10, this is conservative, within 10 years, medium to large sized organisations that don't have a well-evolved analytics strategy for the way that they run their business will be seeing downturns in their business, because they won't understand how their competitors seem to know what they're doing next. Okay, let me show you just a little glimpse of that. So within Office 365, you've got this, well actually let's just look at it in a really traditional sense first actually. Office 365 is just the beginning. Okay, we're here talking about Dynamics, CRM, okay? And one of the most important things about Office 365 is it's a productivity platform that really sits in the middle of everything else. And it wouldn't work very well if mail was isolated from social, okay? And your collaboration was isolated from instant messaging and things like that. You saw how before I could go and look at a document, then potentially click the call from the document. Does that make sense? Did everyone notice how I sort of clicked on the guy's name? I could make an instant message and then potentially say, how you doing? Put the headset on or hit the mobile phone, whatever it might be. And so one optional thing we can plug into Office 365 right from the get-go is Power BI. Okay, and so what Power BI does, among many different things, is gives us some great in-browser and of course in Excel analytics. As we can see here, this is Microsoft Excel running within the browser. And so I can click on this. Let's see if it might have gone to sleep while I wasn't clicking on it before, so it looks like it has. Here we come. So don't know if you've seen graphs in Excel before, but what we're looking at in this one, hope our internet connection's good here. Here we go. There we go. Okay, what we're looking at here is a new feature within Excel called PowerView. Okay, and so what PowerView gives us is the ability to interact with our graphs potentially in real time. So we're looking here, that's audio visual equipment sold by Contoso. This is store sales analysis. I can click here, and what it does is it changes every other graph on the view to reflect what I've clicked on. Okay, so what this is audio visual in 2013 compared to 2014, and so what it does now change these to 2014 for audio visual. In some cases, we've got information which is sorted across time, and so because it knows that's a sequence that really is best displayed as though we're tracking back through time, I can click on the little play button here, and it's now animating through time how things changed, and so we can get a much better insight into the patterns in the way that our market or our sales are working here. And by getting that visual insight, we'll often give you that little nugget that gives you the inspiration on maybe where you should be investing next. Maybe it's investing out of your current major line of business. You look at some really big organisations, and I think of Yamaha. No one from Yamaha here? They make motorbikes, they make pianos. What the heck? Okay, what's the Yamaha logo? Anyone know what it actually is? Tuning forks. Must have been pianos originally. Don't know how they got the motorbikes. Maybe they saw the spokes on the wheel and went, know how to make a better motorbike. Okay, maybe it's to do with harmonics or something. So, but I don't know how they got that sort of insight. Today, computers are telling us where we're going to do this stuff. Okay, so someone says, tell us the sales for Australia. Okay, how would you find out the sales for Australia today in your organisation, or how would you find out an arbitrary figure today? Would you go and ask someone else? What would they do? They've got a report somewhere. Okay, or you can not ask someone else, you not look for a report, you just go to the Power BI site and you say, sales in Australia. Press enter, and there you go. Let's breaking that up by product. Okay, let's say compared to somewhere else. Versus United Kingdom. It's even giving me suggestions here. It knows what I'm going to type before I say it. So now it's giving me a little map. It thinks, oh, okay, you're obviously after some sort of geography, so I'll give you a map. That's not what I wanted, it was wrong. Computers, they can't get it right, can they? So I'll just say, as a pie. Is that pretty cool? Okay. Maybe that's not good enough. Australia versus United Kingdom, there's no real. What about just in Australia? We'll say, not Australia, we'll say New South Wales. Versus Australian Capital Territory. That'll do. It's making assumptions again. Okay, or we could say 2013. See if it gets that right. Doesn't look like we've got the right data there. In this case, it's only coming from a very small sample of data, but you can imagine what this could do if you've got a lot more data. Okay, so hello computer. I don't know, anyone remember Star Trek when they talk? I don't know, there's a movie of Star Trek where he goes back in time and he picks up the mouse and goes, hello computer. And he's like, why isn't it working? Okay, actually he says it first, then he hands him the mouse and he picks up the mouse and he talks into the mouse, that's it. Okay, if you haven't seen it, it's probably safe not to see it. Okay, so hopefully that gives you just a little bit of a look at Office 365. Look, Office 365 has lots of really, really cool stuff. Okay, and you just take so much for granted. You can see the analytics. This is from Forrester Research. This you can go and have a look online, have a look at these analytics of Office 365 by the numbers. There's a number of those actually. But otherwise, hopefully I've shown you a good little glimpse. If you've got any questions, I'm here to take a question. Do you have a question?
So does that BI
Power BI?
The ERP system being in the cloud?
You could, yeah. In fact,
Do you have,
ERP and CRM
Yep.
can utilise Power BI themselves within it itself. Yeah. So it's